Hey everyone, welcome 8th graders and honestly anyone tuning in to today's explainer. When we think about the American Revolution, it's so easy to picture it like a comic book, right? Like this super simple story of the good guys versus the bad guys. But history? History is rarely that simple. Today, we're stepping right into the absolute middle of the greatest debate in American history, just to uncover what it truly meant to live in a totally divided society.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to literally imagine yourself standing in the dusty streets of a colonial town. It's the 1770s. A rebellion is brewing right outside your front door. And suddenly, you are forced to make a life-altering choice. Do you risk your life and your family's whole future to join the fight? Or do you stay loyal to the only king and country you've ever known? This wasn't some abstract, far-off idea for them. It was a devastatingly real, right-in-your-face choice.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at a divided colonial society. Next, the Patriot argument, followed by the Loyalist perspective. Then we'll explore the power of debate and wrap it all up with education rooted in morality. All right, let's kick things off. Section 1, a divided colonial society. Now, it's absolutely vital to realize that the colonies didn't just wake up one morning completely unified, ready to fight the British Empire. We actually have two main groups here. On one side, you have the Patriots. These were the colonists who wanted independence. They wanted to form their very own nation. And on the flip side, we have the Loyalists. And just like the name implies, these folks wanted to remain a part of the British Empire. And guys, this divide, it carried a massive human cost. We're not talking about some polite disagreement happening in a distant, stuffy government building. No, families, churches, entire towns were literally being ripped apart. Just imagine sitting at your dinner table, right? And the father passionately supports the king while the son is out secretly gathering weapons for the Patriots. That was the harsh, deeply personal reality they were living in. Moving right along. Section 2, the Patriot argument. So the crucial point is we need to understand why. Why would someone willingly risk the death penalty? Because that's what treason meant, just to support independence. Well, patriots passionately argued for liberty and the right to self-government. They wanted economic freedom, the ability to trade without constant interference. A huge, massive driving force was that famous rallying cry, "Stop paying taxes without representation." Ultimately, they firmly believed that British laws were actively violating their fundamental rights. So for them, independence was quite literally the only way out. But let's flip the coin. Section 3, the Loyalist perspective. It is incredibly easy for us today, sitting here, to just label Loyalists as the quote-unquote bad guys who stood in the way of American freedom. But wait, we really have to validate their very real concerns. See, Loyalists deeply valued stability. When they looked at the prospect of revolution, what they saw was terrifying chaos, massive economic loss, and a bloody war. Plus, they strongly believed the British Empire offered the best, safest path to long-term prosperity. They relied heavily on the mighty British Army for protection. So their desire to stay loyal, it was rooted in a very reasonable, very human need for safety and order. And this brilliantly illustrates the real heart of the conflict. You have patriots fighting for liberty and self-rule, while your loyalists are fighting for stability and protection. Look at that! Both sides are actually motivated by fundamentally good things. It just shows us how two entirely reasonable groups of people can look at the exact same situation, prioritize different core values, and come to completely opposite, world-shaping conclusions. Mind-blowing, right? So how do we handle differences like that? That brings us to Section 4, the power of debate. When society faces a massive divide like this one, the absolute best way to handle it lies in reasoned discussion. It's captured perfectly in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 18. Come now, let us reason together. You see, debate isn't about shouting the loudest or completely destroying your opponent. Actually, scratch that, it's more like bringing differing viewpoints into the light, stretching those critical thinking muscles, and really understanding entirely different perspectives. Hearing both sides provides sheer value in three really distinct ways. First up, it promotes understanding. It reveals the real values and fears that are shaping someone's decisions. Second, it reduces conflict. When you actually understand why someone disagrees with you, it naturally de-escalates the anger. And third, it helps create informed decisions. You simply cannot make a wise choice about the future without thoroughly examining all angles of an issue. You just can't. Which perfectly tees up our final part today, Section 5, Education Rooted in Morality.
So, how do we actually apply all this history to our lives? Consider this your homework. When you face deep disagreements in your own life, I want you to follow these 3 steps. Step 1, clearly identify the arguments of both sides. Step 2, and honestly, this is absolutely crucial, listen respectfully. You don't have to agree with them, no way, but you must respect their humanity. And step 3, wherever possible, seek compromise.
I want you to consider Romans 12:18 for a second. It says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. The road to the American Revolution is a stark, unavoidable reminder that disagreement is a guarantee in human life. It's going to happen. But listen, even when you are absolutely certain you're standing for what is right, you still have a moral obligation to listen respectfully and treat others with undeniable dignity. And really, this is the very core of the heroesmartacademy philosophy. We intertwine biblical morality directly with education because, frankly, knowledge without a moral compass can actually cause a lot of harm. Just think about it. What is the point of being highly intelligent and super educated if you just use that knowledge to make choices that hurt yourself or the people around you? Because ultimately, true success in learning brings peace. Romans 8, verses 6 and 7 actually offers a promise of peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. Combining the sharp, critical thinking skills we just learned from debating the Patriots and Loyalists with a spiritual, peace-seeking mindset, that is the true overarching goal of this explainer. When you engage with your education this way, it literally transforms you. So we've explored a society totally torn apart by divided loyalties. You've seen firsthand how reasonable people can hold entirely different values, and you now know the history of this great debate. But you know what? The most important question isn't about what happened back in the 1770s. The question I want to leave you and your parents reflecting on today is this. In your own life, when faced with conflict and deep disagreement, will you choose peace? Thank you so much for exploring with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.